Flying Pie Pizzeria in Boise, Idaho, flew a pizza to a man living on a remote Alaskan island. Walter Shane received national attention when he says, boy, it takes too long to get pizza. Well, the pizza didn't come to him in 30 minutes or less. It came to him in 11 hours, so he's still a happy man.
Yeah, he thought that was a short time. When it got there in 11 hours, there they go with the pizza. I think it was probably cold.
I think so, but if he has a microwave, he's still fine.
Coming up on Tomorrow's Life at 5, the new kids on the block have the Milli Vanilli syndrome.
The teenage pop music group has been accused of lip-syncing Hat to Tails tomorrow. Time now for NBC Nightly News.
Good night.
President Bush arrives in New York to begin meetings with Boris Yeltsin about big cuts in nuclear missiles and about economic aid.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, reporting tonight from NBC News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. President Bush and Russian President Boris Yeltsin are gathering in New York for the welcome new business between their countries, a huge reduction in the most dangerous nuclear weapons. Tomorrow, Yeltsin makes his debut as a world leader before the UN. NBC's John Cochran, there are big economic stakes here in these meetings in New York and again at Camp David on Saturday.
Tom, as President Bush never tires of pointing out, foreign affairs can have a big impact on our everyday lives. And Boris Yeltsin can have a big impact on how much we spend on defense. President Bush arrived in New York shortly before Yeltsin. Earlier today, Bush joked about the importance of talking with Yeltsin.
Please be seated. I don't want to keep Boris Yeltsin waiting later on.
There was a time when Yeltsin really was something of a joke in the Bush White House, but no more. Now he and Bush are in a high-stakes nuclear poker game as each tries to raise the other's offer. In his State of the Union address, Bush for the first time offered sharp cuts in submarine-launched weapons, something Mikhail Gorbachev always wanted but never got from Bush. Both sides are offering deep reductions in land-based missiles, and as Yeltsin stopped off in London today, his spokesman said Russia may offer more cuts when he meets Bush. On the Today program, Defense Secretary Cheney said Yeltsin really wants to shrink nuclear stockpiles.
I have no reason not to trust him. Everything I've seen to date is that he's indicates he's a responsible leader.
Yeltsin also plans to cut his military forces by 700,000, putting more pressure on President Bush to go beyond today's announcement that 83 American bases in Europe will be closed or cut back. Bush's Republican challenger, Pat Buchanan, says, don't stop now.
I think you could get tremendous savings by bringing almost all the American ground troops home from Europe.
President Bush ignores calls for those kinds of cuts, but he does not ignore critics like Buchanan who oppose sending big bucks to Boris Yeltsin. And when Yeltsin and Bush meet, Yeltsin is likely to complain that U.S. aid has been, at best, modest. Tom?
Thank you, John. At the same time, the president is trying to drum up public support for his latest economic plans and his sagging political popularity by turning the torch on Congress. NBC's Andrea Mitchell tonight on how that campaign is going. Andrea?
Tom, the battle is joined. The president is trying to light a fire under Congress to pass his budget. But Democrats don't like what they see in the fine print. On the road to sell his economic plan, the president urged a Philadelphia business audience to help him pressure Congress.
So I ask every member of Congress, and please tell them the same thing, to set aside now partisanship for just 51 days and give this plan a chance.
Outside, a reminder of the recession, the carpenters union demanding jobs. As part of the effort to blame Congress, the Bush campaign began airing commercials today in New Hampshire.
But I need your help now to send a real message to Congress to get this job done.
In Philadelphia, Bush warned against sweet-sounding quick fixes.
The air back in Washington has been thick with feel-good gimmicks that have nothing to do with true prosperity and everything to do with politics.
But feel-good gimmicks are exactly what Budget Committee Democrats see in Bush's proposal.
Why now, when the public is skeptical enough about their political leaders, do we again return to smoke and mirrors and the kind of gimmicks that we saw in the 80s?
Partisan cliches of one sort or another, I might say, for example, smoke and mirrors, will not help us move forward.
Democrats will not obstruct, but we will try to improve where we think the package needs improvement.
Democrats want to double Bush's defense cuts, but it won't be easy. For instance, canceling nuclear submarines, as Bush proposed, will devastate Connecticut, where the subs are built.
We need a program that does more than shut down defense facilities and throw the workers out on the street.
The president had said he'd give Congress until March 20th before declaring budget war. It sounded as though the ceasefire ended today. Tom?
Thank you, Andrea. And not for the first time, again today, there were mixed numbers on the economy. Personal income in December was up 1%. That's the biggest jump in 3 years. But for all of 91, income was up just under 4%. That's barely ahead of inflation. NBC's chief economics correspondent Irving R. Levine checks in now with discouraging numbers from the nation's factories.
U.S. factories were sliding deeper into hard times during the very weeks they were waiting for the president's recovery package. Big factories and small ones like Raylex in New York, which makes clothing racks for dry cleaners, all reported a plunge in orders last month.
Business has been down approximately 20%.
The biggest drop was in cars and other transportation equipment, orders down almost 14%. Businesses aren't ordering from factories because consumers aren't buying, particularly big-ticket items like refrigerators on sale at this Washington appliance store.
They're not buying unless they have to.
The slump in factory orders meant layoffs for 32,000 factory workers last month, a total of 450,000 last year. The president's scheme for spurring factory output is an investment tax credit. Big businesses like Bell South could take off their tax bill 15% of the cost of any new equipment they buy. But companies aren't likely to buy new equipment from factories until they get more orders from their customers.
We're seeing a pretty flat economy and don't see any signs that it's started to go up.
It's a chicken and egg situation. What will come first, buying new equipment or waiting for business to pick up? Most companies, like Ridgewell's Caterers in Maryland, are waiting.
It's been a difficult time.
The investment tax credit has been trotted out in previous recessions, but in most cases, companies didn't use it to buy new equipment until the economy was well into recovery. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, the Tyson trial gets underway. And tonight's Daily Difference, crime and punishment. Guns in the hands of children. Bob Herbert tells us it's not just a big city problem.
People who hurt from arthritis are discovering a safer aspirin, Ecotrin.
On a bad day, I can take up to 8 and not be concerned about irritating my stomach.
It's the orange coating that makes it safer.
Plain and buffered aspirin dissolves in the stomach where aspirin can cause damage. But Ecotrin's safety coating helps protect your stomach from aspirin's damage.
So I'm not worried taking the maximum dose.
Every 6 hours, pow, pow. For minor arthritis pain, the safer aspirin is Ecotrin. And that's the truth.
Chapstick. From the freezing wind to the scorching sun, Chapstick Lip Balm is serious medicine made to help chapped lips heal fast and healthy lips stay healthy. Whatever the weather, don't take chances. Take Chapstick.
Sure, plums are wonderful, but did you know ounce for ounce you get more vitamins and minerals after plums become prunes?
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
The preliminaries over the trial of boxer Mike Tyson began in Indianapolis today. The former heavyweight champion is charged with the rape of an 18-year-old Miss Black America contestant. The prosecution wasted no time in putting her on the stand today, and NBC's Gary Matsumoto is there tonight.
Mike Tyson arrived at the Marion County Courthouse with Camille Ewald, the only surviving member of his adopted family. Despite her advanced years, Ewald made the journey to be at Tyson's side for what may prove to be the most difficult fight of his career. Tyson's accuser remained out of sight. This woman was apparently a decoy. His accuser, Desiree Washington, slipped in another entrance. The 18-year-old college freshman from Rhode Island appeared composed throughout the proceedings. At 5 foot 4 inches tall, 108 pounds, her appearance was in stark contrast to that of the 220-pound Tyson who sat impassively across the courtroom. The portraits of Ms. Washington, drawn by the defense and prosecution, could not be more different. The defense tried to undermine the expected testimony of Ms. Washington by describing her as a poised young woman who was after Tyson's money, that she had agreed to have sex. The prosecution let her resume speak for itself. Honor student, full scholarship at a Catholic university, teaches Sunday school, and does volunteer work for the mentally handicapped. She described her first encounter with Tyson and gave some clue as to why she might have risked going to Tyson's hotel room. After her initial meeting with Tyson, the accuser said she saw him again at a public ceremony praying with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. She said Tyson was wearing a mustard-colored jacket and that her eyes fell on a large button that he was wearing that said, "Together in Christ." She agreed to go to his hotel. Her voice never faltered as she described the alleged rape. She said the pain was excruciating, that she tried to fight Tyson off, punching him on the arm, but she said it was like hitting a wall. Tyson, she said, would not stop, that his voice was evil, that he would only say, "Don't fight me, mommy." Gary Matsumoto, NBC News, Indianapolis.
Federal authorities in New York today announced the breakup of a multi-million-dollar art ring, charging that it had been selling prints with forged signatures to galleries in the United States and Europe. And NBC's John Miller is here with details now. John?
Tom, the art rings charged top dollar for the forgeries. Thousands of copies were made and sold. One investigator said it was like printing money. Buyers were told the lithographs were signed by the actual artists, the late Salvador Dali, Pablo Picasso, Marc Chagall, and Joan Miro.
The Emile family art fraud business was at the focal point of an international network of dirty art dealers that sold these counterfeit prints to galleries located throughout the United States.
Buyers at galleries like this one were told each lithograph was a valued treasure, one of just 100 or so copies signed by the artist. In the art world, each would be valued at between $20,000 and $100,000. The lithographs could be had at a bargain price, just a few $1,000s. U.S. postal inspectors say the only thing being had by these bargains were the buyers. Postal inspectors say the art treasures came from this rundown book distributor just outside New York City. This woman, Catherine Emile, along with her mother, sister, and daughter, allegedly flooded the market with fakes. When postal inspectors raided the Emile family warehouse, they say they found thousands and thousands of copies of the so-called limited edition lithographs, and evidence that someone had practiced forging the signatures of Dali and other artists. In fact, it seemed there were no limits to the limited edition signed lithographs.
On a worldwide retail level, experts and dealers have indicated to us that they feel it is at least a $1 billion problem.
In Paris, Paloma Picasso, the daughter of the artist, reacted.
I think it's a shame. I mean, I think it's a shame that so many people, you know, have a dream to own a Picasso, and they'll pay quite a lot of money for something that's not worth anything. It's like buying a poster.
A federal court has frozen the assets of the Emile family until the trial. If they are found guilty, that money, almost $3 million, may find its way back to some of the victims. Tom?
Thank you, John. In Florida, the jury now has recommended death for hitchhike killer Eileen Wuornos. The 35-year-old prostitute who said she killed 7 men in self-defense was convicted Monday for the first murder. The jury's death sentence vote was 12-0. The judge will pronounce final sentence tomorrow.
Recently, DuPont announced that its energy unit Conoco would pioneer the use of new double-hold oil tankers in order to safeguard the environment. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. DuPont, better things for better living.
Do you have a cold?
Yes, I do have a cold.
Here's 2 cold medicines. This relieves these 3 symptoms, this 9. Choose one.
I would use this one.
Why?
That's my cold. The fever, the headaches, the sinus congestion.
Here's what you chose.
I'm totally amazed.
Would you try Dristan Cold?
Absolutely.
How do you feel?
I feel amazingly good.
And for a hot, soothing relief when the flu hits, try new Dristan Cold and Flu.
There's lots of ways to have garlic. The Kwai difference is the consistency of garlic qualities of this easy-to-swallow tablet. There's no better way to have garlic than odor-free Kwai.
I've heard a lot about garlic. Kwai is odor-free and so easy to swallow.
Kwai is available at quality drugstores, health and natural food stores, and general nutrition centers.
It's the best, and it's odor-free.
Kwai, science and nature working for you.
Our daily difference now, crime and punishment. Think of crime in the streets and chances are you're thinking big city, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. But violent crime is a plague in America's smaller cities as well, and the criminals these days, all too often, are children. NBC's Bob Herbert.
When you think of Omaha, you don't usually think of gunfighting and kids dying in the streets. But times have changed.
It happened so fast, he just pulled it behind his back, and he cocked it, and he shot me.
They shot me in the arms and in the back through my heart.
My brother got shot 2 years ago right across the street over there.
During the 1980s, street gangs came to Omaha, and with the gangs came guns.
I've done been to about 3 funerals last year alone, you know. That's enough. That's too many. It's like a habit. You can't walk the street safe without a pistol.
Now, huge numbers of children and teenagers in Omaha's poorer neighborhoods are carrying guns, and many are using them.
Yeah. So you would shoot somebody for the neighborhood?
I shoot somebody for the hood. If I'm disrespecting the hood, they gotta pay the price.
First time my first gun was, I was 14, little 25 automatic, and it went on from there.
That little gun right there could do a lot of damage.
You shoot all 6 bullets in a person, they gone, they through.
In Omaha, kids can get guns about as easily as they can get into an R-rated movie. I met these 2 teenagers tonight. When I asked them if they had access to guns, they said sure. Where did you get that gun?
From a clucker.
What's a clucker?
A person who smokes crack.
How much did this cost?
$20.
What kind of gun is it?
38 special.
The kids don't think much about the consequences of pulling a trigger. Those thoughts belong to the people who get shot, like 20-year-old Del Reese Thompson.
I didn't look at the blood. I didn't look at where he shot me at until I got in the car. But I knew I was shot because I was burning real bad inside.
Del Reese lost the use of her left hand when she was shot, but at least she survived. In Omaha, just like in the big cities, funerals for young people are commonplace.
We have been too quiet for too long. Omaha, you are a good place. Your people are good people. But the violence you tolerate is destroying you, one innocent person at a time. No more.
Carl Washington has spent the last 5 years trying to get young people off the streets of Omaha.
A lot of times kids feel that how you remedy a problem is the final solution is with a gun. 1991 has been the worst year in my life. I've had a lot of close people that have been shot. 1991 it's a year that I'll remember until my dying day.
I like to see our race come together more, you know, because this is ridiculous. You know, I have friends beside me dropping like flies. Sad.
Saddest of all, the parents of the victims. Renee Henderson's 19-year-old son Cedric was shot in the head a couple of months ago. He is now lying in a hospital, motionless and unable to speak.
He didn't look like my child at all. And it really hurts when I look at my child and I think about how he used to be. And now, I don't know will he ever be like that again.
Cedric Henderson was moved to a different Nebraska hospital recently. Officials are worried about his safety. If he shows signs of recovery, he could once again become a target of gang violence.
Are you gonna dance your whole life away? What about your future? Don't you worry about getting old.
He doesn't have to. He has a Metlife retirement plan. Metlife annuities earn tax-deferred interest and guarantee an income for life. What do you say to that?
Away?
Oh, brother. Get Met. It pays.
epidemic declared. Entire U.S. affected. Fever, congestion, body aches. What will you do? Get serious medicine. Doctors recommend TheraFlu. TheraFlu is hot liquid medicine. Strong therapy for flu symptoms. Hot liquid therapy that works fast. What will you do when you get the flu? Doctors recommend TheraFlu. Strong therapy for flu symptoms. Where do you want to be in 30 years?
Well, you know, we Cranfords are a feisty lot. My mother just celebrated her 97th birthday. I'm going on a photographic safari to Kenya. I want my grandchildren to see where I grew up. And I never miss bridge with the girls. I believe if you rest, you rust. So let's just make sure that my money keeps up with me.
You can get there from here with Shearson Lehman Brothers.
I'd like to talk to you about an invisible problem. The invisible bacteria that cause denture odor. Fortunately, antibacterial Efferdent kills those odor-causing bacteria for clean, fresh dentures.
Antibacterial Efferdent.
Guess which of these fruits, ounce for ounce, has the most vitamins and minerals? Yep, the California prune.
Sweet, delicious California prunes. Find out how good they really are.
The Shuttle Discovery is back on Earth after 8 days in orbit. It was a perfect landing in California's Edwards Air Force Base. Aboard were 7 crew members and a menagerie of roundworms, frog eggs, insects, and slime mold, all used in scientific experiments. Remember the space race, the contest between the United States and the Soviet Union to conquer space? Well, these days it's another Cold War antique. These days, the Soviet space program, like the rest of the Soviet Commonwealth, is struggling to survive. NBC's Jim Masada.
Mission Control, Russia. The lockup is successful. 200 miles above the Earth, the supply rocket brings a month's worth of food to 2 cosmonauts, now in their 9th month in orbit. Back on Earth, Russian technicians are jealous of the food.
You have to feed and clothe your children. You can't live on pride alone.
There was plenty of pride, from the launch of Sputnik to the Mir space station. But while Soviet achievement in space climbed, the economy began its free fall. Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, a superhero. The cosmonauts who followed lived pampered lives. Today, Gagarin would make about $6 a month. Facing budget cuts and hyperinflation, cosmonauts and flight techs are now yelling, abort.
Put yourself in our shoes. You get a salary 10 times less than what's needed to live. How can you wait? Tell me.
So Gagarin's successors decided to act, a symbolic strike during the recent lockup. The signs read, cosmic work for comic wages. Workers here want at least a 400% raise. If they don't get it, they say, the next strike will be for real. But the Mission Control Director says there is no easy money. It must be earned.
We can work on useful things in space. New medicines, insulins, new materials. Sell these, make money, and go further in space.
There are positive signs. Both the Mir station and the Buran shuttle may soon be leased to foreign space programs for millions in hard currency. The space race has given way to commerce with the old enemy. Mission Control recently rented its services to NASA. There is even talk of a joint U.S.-Russian manned landing on Mars by 2005. For now, that's a pipe dream. In March, another flight will bring the 2 orbiting cosmonauts home. And if life at home doesn't improve by then, that flight, say some, could be the last. Jim Masada, NBC News, Mission Control, Russia.
In this country, more voices were raised today calling for the release of the sealed files on the John F. Kennedy assassination. Former President Gerald Ford, who's the only surviving member of the Warren Commission, and 13 staffers who worked for it, believe that these documents will reinforce their findings that no conspiracy was involved.
This is ordinary bulk fiber. It's full of grit. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. The grit is gone because it's triple ground for smoothness. This is ordinary fiber. The grit is definitely not gone. This is new Sunrise Smooth Metamucil, the best mixing, smoothest tasting natural fiber you can buy. The grit is gone. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. For regularity, nothing works better. And the grit is gone.
there's no place like this on land. All my cares, they're behind me. The world's in my command.
The most magnificent resorts on Earth are on water. Royal Caribbean, the grand resorts of the 7 seas.
Royal Caribbean.
When I see my mother hurting, it really hurts me. She buys store brands for some things, but when it comes to pain relievers, I'm glad she still uses Advil. I trust it, and I know it helps. Here, Mom. Oh, thanks. Now I'll feel better. What's this?
Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Campbell's heard your healthy requests.
Low fat.
Less salt.
But lots of taste.
Here's our answer. New Campbell's Healthy Request ready-to-serve soups. All the great taste you want without some things you don't. New Campbell's Healthy Request. And healthy.
Don't get hit by an annual fee. Carry the card that doesn't charge one. And keep yourself out of the hole. It pays to discover.
It's tough to make a buck these days, even when people want to pay for what you're selling, even when they're willing to pay for homegrown culture. NBC's Keith Morrison with the story of a busted California entrepreneur.
I would come out like this and greet the guests. And
Bill and Pamela Resch turned out to greet us in the very clothes they were wearing when their illegal life was exposed. Though as we toured the garden, we wondered, could anyone who talks like this be living outside the law?
You'll probably notice that throughout the garden we have little cherubs everywhere. That's because I love angels.
In fact, Pamela sounds quite like an angel herself when she plays the antique Steinway in her storybook cottage. Or at the concert hall in Vienna, where her father made this tape. She was world-class by then, had played with the symphony at home in San Jose.
And had played in New York and Hong Kong and Amsterdam and London.
So they had this little idea. Why not have concerts at home?
There would be approximately 20 to 30 chairs set up in this room facing this direction toward the piano.
The ad said to come and listen to music in a relaxed, romantic atmosphere. It said that we served cheese puffs, killer brownies, and lots more.
It was all so civilized. They were charging $25 a head, making a little money, until the vice cops came to call.
My friend said, uh-oh, looks like trouble.
I think they thought we were running some kind of a sex chain, something.
Some kind of yuppie prostitution ring or something.
Bach in the buff?
What the police found, of course, was just a music recital. But that, it turned out, was illegal, too. The police dropped criminal charges, but then the city went after the Resches. Fines, back business taxes, and a stop concert order.
We do preclude commercial enterprises or commercial endeavors in residential areas.
No Chopin for profit in San Jose.
In Europe, the artist is revered. In San Jose, California, you're a nuisance.
These days, it's hard for Pamela to feel so angelic. Keith Morrison, NBC News, San Jose, California.
That's nightly news for Thursday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Coming up from your 24-hour news source.
The governor's family reaches an out-of-court settlement with the family of a Des Moines couple killed in an auto accident involving the governor's son. I'm Tom Hauser. I'll have a live eye report.
At this Rochester, Minnesota hospital, a Northwest Iowa doctor is involved in a murder-suicide.
And after these two men drowned in Warren County, authorities put out the warning, stay off the ice.
Meantime, Gary says our warm-up will hang around a few more days.
And in sports, another ISU basketball player is arrested. All the day's news is coming up next.
Last year, over 50,000 women found families to adopt their unexpected children.
We had a daughter.
They decided instead of abortion to tough it out and bring their babies into the world. they held to their belief that nothing is more precious than human life. To all these mothers, the families who adopted these children would like to say, thank you. Life, what a beautiful choice.
Cash savings on their corn acres. That's one big reason you see so many farmers switching from dual to Eradicane herbicide. Because with the new lower price of Eradicane, the best buy in herbicides just got better. So you get superior grass control with a little something extra.
Eradicane, the smart start. Oh, yeah. This is it. Your last chance to get 2.9% financing for 48 months on all 91 and 92 Escorts. Hurry, it's your last chance to get this limited time special offer from your Ford dealer. Choose the sporty GT, the spacious wagon, the sleek LX, even the new 92 Escort sedan. 2.9 financing for 48 months on any new Escort. You can't beat the savings. Now is the time to buy. See your local Ford dealer, because this is your last chance.
You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines, your 24-hour news source. And now, John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with tonight's forecast. This is News Center 13 at 6.
His justice was not served, not for us, the family left, but for my parents. Justice was not served for them.
The family of Charles and Jean McCullough reaches an out-of-court settlement with Governor Branstad's family, but some bitterness remains. Good evening. The settlement means no civil lawsuit will be filed against the Branstads in connection with a fatal car accident last August.
Charles and Jean McCullough were killed when their vehicle was struck by a van driven by 16-year-old Eric Branstad. Branstad survived the August 18th accident, although he suffered some serious injuries. 3 weeks later, he was charged with improper passing, a simple misdemeanor. And in November, Eric Branstad was found guilty of that offense and fined $15. With the criminal matter out of the way, relatives of the McCulloughs were expected to file a wrongful death civil suit. But News Center 13's Tom Hauser joins us now from the governor's mansion to tell us a civil case will not go to court. Tom?
That's right, Kim. Instead of taking the matter to court, the McCullough's 5 children negotiated a settlement with the governor's family and representatives of his insurance company. But some bitterness does remain, not so much against the Branstad family, but against the justice system. Charles and Jean McCullough were killed August 18th, the victims of a devastating head-on collision with 16-year-old Eric Branstad. The McCulloughs were returning from a family reunion in Dayton, Iowa. This photo was taken the day before they were killed. 2 of the McCulloughs' daughters talked to News Center 13 about a settlement reached this week with the governor's family. 28-year-old Janet Smothers says the money isn't important.
No amount of money is going to bring my parents back. I would have much rather seen proper charges brought against Eric Branstad.
Attorney Ron Wheeler says under terms of the settlement, he can't disclose the amount the family will receive. But he says it's not nearly what the family deserves.
Over the last several weeks, we've been negotiating with the governor's attorneys, with the insurance companies involved, and we've reached what we feel to be a satisfactory settlement under the laws of the state.
Janet Smothers says her family still can't believe Eric Branstad was charged with a minor traffic offense and fined only $15. She says evidence indicates he was driving at high speed and passing illegally. And she says she can't understand why the justice system didn't hold him accountable.
Basically because of who he is, that he got off with something that no other person would be allowed to.
Now, Governor Branstad did not comment on the terms of the settlement, but in a statement issued through his spokesman, he told News Center 13, quote, "The accident has changed our lives forever and left scars that will never go away." That was the only word coming from the governor's office today. Again, under the terms of the settlement, neither side is supposed to talk about the amount of money that will be given to the family. John?
Okay, thank you very much. Tom Hauser reporting live for us. Residents in a small northwestern Iowa town are searching for answers tonight. This after the murder-suicide of a prominent doctor and his friend. The bizarre incident took place at this hospital in Rochester, Minnesota. Authorities say 56-year-old Ralph Lasky entered his friend's hospital room and fatally shot him before turning the gun on himself. The victim, Ronald McCoy, was Lasky's